This is the Tablet of Union. This is how we usually see it. Sometimes we see it with English letters, X-harp, Hakma, Nanta, and Bitum there. Now the colors on a flat board like this. Now Rigarde told me that this was the best way to have the tablets, just painted flat. And because I told him I was making a set of Enochian tablets out of the truncated pyramids, which this is supposed to represent. So now can you see the truncated pyramids there? It's just not a quilt pattern. And when I said, well, why shouldn't I do it in truncated pyramids? And he says, oh my God, boy, they're dangerous enough when they're flat. And I had to sort of giggle, and I told him, well, maybe yours are crabby when they're flat because they're all squished up in there and trying to communicate to you all smashed up like that. So believe me, I haven't found that Enochian spirits or angels are dangerous, period. Even if some of them Dee and Kelley called, what did he call them? Evil or wicked spirits. Now, when they're truncated, you can sort of see what the Golden Dawn has done with it. These are the four great, I guess we could call them archangels of the systems, elemental archangels: X-harp, air; Hakama, water; Nanta, earth; and on the bottom there is Bitum, fire. And you can see from this angle that the first row is white for spirit, and then yellow for air. And what have I done there? Oh yeah, okay. And blue for water, and green for earth, and red for fire. Now, in Dee's day, earth could be painted black also. Modern magicians prefer to use sort of a new aeon-y color green for the earth element. Now, when you look at it that way, those are the columns. And when you look at it this way, you see that the rows are broken up into air, water, earth, fire. One of them's out of whack there. So these come off. Okay. We're going to talk in depth about the Tablet of Union in a forthcoming chapter here. But first we have some loose ends to tie up. One thing I'd like to mention, if I have this pained look on my face this morning, is last night while getting this material out for this morning's talk, I fell off my foot. Have you ever fallen off your foot where your foot just goes like that and down you go? Well, I have sort of weak ankles anyway because I'm because of years of being a lazy bastard. But I fell off my foot here in the office, and I tumbled down and I smashed into the bookcase, and I thought I broke my ankle. And I might have broken it. I certainly have sprained it severely because it hurts like hell. And I can move my foot and everything else, so don't worry. But as you can imagine, I'm not in any big hurry to go unnecessarily to the emergency room or the hospital with the pandemic, having ambulances stacked up in the hospital parking lot. So I'm Constance put it on ice, and yeah, I had sort of a good night's sleep. But anyway, oh, feel sorry. Oh, poor thing, poor Lon. He hurt his leg. Well, yeah, it's really hard to walk, and I sort of am in a state of craziness here. So, but does that stop my morning reading of Enochian Vision Magic? No. We are finishing up the chapter 24, which is all sorts of loose ends. And one of the loose ends is this governor off the elemental tablets called Para-Owan. So, and like I said yesterday, this is the esotericness of the most esotericist of the more esotericisms. Para-Owan. Ave, and remember who Ave is. Ave is off the Sigillum Deameth. And Ave really had a lot to say in this system. Ave was particularly concerned that Dee and Kelley locate the name Para-Owan on the Great Table. There's the Great Table. And remember, I posted that yesterday, and it's got a lot of circled, or a few circled letters, and they're backwards and stuff. I did that for your edification. Also, we're talking specifically about this black cross, which will eventually be our key to this thing. Okay, Para-Owan. The significance of this great angel has not, at least to my satisfaction, been adequately explored or explained. The name Para-Owan first appeared among the 91 parts of the earth as one of the 3 divine names, number 65. Now remember, we've got a list of those that were delivered to Dee and Kelley long before these squares of the Great Tablet were created as part of this big, huge, double-blind situation. So Para-Owan first appeared among the 91 parts of the earth as one of the 3 divine names in the 22nd air. Now, the air that they're talking about is the aether, which they, at the moment in the sequence, in the chronology of events, hasn't been delivered yet. But the air are those aethers or heavens which surround the elemental tablets or the Great Tablet. In the chronology, that hasn't been discovered yet, so I'm referring back from the future. Para-Owan is the divine name of the part of the earth designated as Marmerica. Geographically, it's the area of Marmerica. Remember, this was delivered in 1584. According to Enochian scholar Robin Cousins, in Dee and Kelley's day, Marmerica was a North African coastal region straddling the Egyptian and Libyan deserts. Libyan coasts. Bounded on the east by the River Nile. See Appendix 3. Oddly enough, a perfectly good 65th symmetrical character, already existed. It's found in the lower right section of the elemental tablet of water and spells out the name Lixdizi, Lixdizi. Nevertheless, Para-Oan seems to also hold the title of the 65th part of the earth known as Marmerica. The obvious and inescapable similarity between the names Marmerica and America inserts, into my mind at least, an added dimension of mystery to this curious anomaly. Add to this the enigmatic and direful comments Ave made concerning the final N in the name Para-Oan. Here's what Ave said. As far as that N, referring to the last one, stretcheth in the character so far, shall that country be consumed with fire and swallowed into hell, as Sodom was for wickedness. The end of all things is even at hand, and the earth must be purified and delivered to another. And a bit later, Dee pressed Ave on this point. Dee says, I beseech you to say somewhat of the N in Para-Oan, of which you said, so far that has stretched, should sink to hell. Ave. Every letter in Para-Oan is a living fire, but all of one quality and one creation. But unto the N is delivered a vial of destruction, according to that part that he is of Para-Oan, the governor. Unquote. The letters of the name Para-Oan are created from 7 of the 8 backwards letters that appear scattered among the 4 elemental tablets of the Great Table, which I've pointed out in the illustration I posted for yesterday's talk. See the circled letters in figure 82. The 8th backward letter, the backward L, found in the lowermost square of the right of figure 82, has yet another very important job to do. How about that? Well, finally, the 3 missing symmetrical characters of the 10th air. Now, the 10th air, Dee and Kelley didn't know what that was about until a couple of weeks later here in the chronology. So when I say 3 missing symmetrical characters of the 10th air, I'm talking about 3 missing symmetrical characters in Dee's list of symmetrical characters that they had gotten several weeks earlier. And they weren't sure that these were going to be in airs and things like that. But the 3 missing symmetrical characters of the 10th air, now the 10th air, when Crowley scried each of these Enochian airs as part of his own personal initiatory magical workings, the 10th air was about the area of what the Kabbalists, who work with looking at things as projected upon a tree of life, the 10th air is the area of the abyss. That non-dimension that yawns between the supernal triad, or 1, 2, and 3 on the tree of life, and the rest of the tree. It's a wild area. And in the Enochian system, it's about at the 10th air. Recall from the table in chapter 18 that there were no symmetrical characters for the 3 parts of the earth assigned to the 10th heir. Those whose divine names were Lexharp, Komanon, okay, Lexharpe, Komanon, and Tabatom. Now, if that sounds sort of familiar, that's 3 ways to spell Exharp Hakama Nanta Batum. Enochian, or Kabbalistic magicians have this thing where they show, by analyzing Kabbalistically significant letters, how they show how the 4 letters INRI are distilled into a greater dimension into the letters IAO. And it's most obviously illustrated in what they call the analysis of the letters. They go INRI, and then they put it in Hebrew, Yud, Nun, Resh, Yud. And then they assign the zodiac signs to each of those letters. Virgo, Isis, Mighty Mother, Scorpio, Apophis, Destroyer, Sol, Osiris, Slain and Risen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris, E-A-O. So do you see how they transformed the 4 into 3? That's sort of what's going on by transposing or distilling the 4 of Exharp, Hakama, Nanta, Batum into Lexharpe, Komanon, and Tabatom. Neither can these 3 names be found within the available letters in any of the 4 elemental tablets. They are, however, to be found on the Black Cross. And the angel Ave, in his highly productive lecture of June 25th, 1584, shows us how it's done. Ave instructed Dee and Kelley to pluck the backward letter L from the lower right corner of the lower right watchtower. I've circled it in that diagram 82. And preface the lowercase EXARP and H from the column of the Black Cross to form dual versions of the divine name Lexharpe. Then, starting with the capital letter C in the column, moving down from the top C or up from the bottom C, then continuing to read either right or left into the horizontal row, dual versions of the divine name Komanon are formed. Then, starting with the capital letter T in the left and right arms of the Black Cross and reading toward the extremities, we discover the dual versions of the divine name Tabatom. Okay. It might not be important to you to know that much information. But in a sense, what the angels are showing in a very, this is how it's done, what they're showing is how the mechanics, the literal nuts and bolts mechanics of how spirit holds the elements together and how spirit keeps the elements apart. This dual, simultaneous pushing and pulling, active and passive nature of spirit itself is illustrated the mechanics of that is illustrated by the about how these letters are drawn off the black cross, or the spirit cross of the great table. Now, it might not be important for us to understand how, but it's amazing that it was illustrated. And this is how it happens in nature. This is how it happens in the cosmos. And this is just sort of angel talk. Lexharp, Komanon, and Tabbatum are respectively the divine names of the 28th, 29th, and 30th parts of the earth in the 10th air. That place, that abyss that yawns between the ideal of the supernal triad and the actual of manifest universe. Those symmetrical characters were missing from the original material concerning the 91 parts of the earth. Their characters are simply the straight lines and rotating L's that spell out their names on the black cross. Obviously, angelic beings whose names are drawn from the black cross are of a nature that sets them apart from their neighbors in the elemental tablets. Their presence in the 10th air also distinguishes that portion of the 91 parts of the earth for special attention, something that will be important to us later. Finally, the 4 names of the Tablet of Union. Lexharpe, Komanon, and Tabbaton also contain within themselves the 4 names that appear in pairs on the black cross, names that are very familiar to practicing Enochian magicians: Exharp, Hakama, Nanta, and Bitum. These are the 4 divine names of the elements that, in practice of modern Enochian magic at least, rule the 4 elemental tablets. These 4, and I'll show you how that's, okay. What tablet do I have here? Okay, here's the tablet of fire. That's the elemental tablet of fire. Bitum, that's the elemental tablet of fire. That B is the entire elemental tablet of fire. And the rest, other 4 are the, there we go. The other 4 are the subangles, the 4 sections. Fire of fire, water of fire, air of fire, earth of fire. In the same way that, oh, that's my problem, right? Right there. Okay. That's the same way that you got fire, water, air, and earth subdivisions of this. And when we talk more about this a little later, it should be even more clear to us. Okay. The 4 names are arranged into a table of 5 squares wide, 4 squares high. This tablet of union, in its profound simplicity, extracts the essence and hierarchical dynamics of the great table. The tablet of union is quite literally the great table distilled. And if we want to project that into the elements of the tarot, this would be the ace for the E of Exharp. The first column would be the aces. Then we would have the princes, queens, princesses, and princes. We'll soon learn much more about the Tablet of Union. But first, we're almost ready to bring the story of Dee and Kelley's Enochian period to an end. It was not long after Ave's revelations concerning the Black Cross, cherubs, wicked angels, missing symmetrical characters, and the Tablet of Union that the two magicians' great angelic adventure, for all intents and purposes, came to a close. There remained only a couple of loose ends to tie up. But my heavens, what loose ends those were. And that's where we'll pick up tomorrow. Chapter 25. There is all. And we're going to talk more about those airs and those aethers. One of our morning viewers mentioned in a comment that he loves the elemental or the Enochian system, but he likes to focus on the aethers or the airs. Well, I don't blame anybody that would do that. But let's all remember that everything in heaven and earth is connected to everything else in heaven and earth, including each of those 91 parts of the earth. They will have their direct correspondence to the 30 heavens or aethers. Indeed, the names of those 91 parts of the earth are the names of the angelic governors of the heavens. And we'll see how that's done tomorrow. My foot hurts. I'm going to have another slug of coffee, and I will probably come limping in tomorrow. If I got friends in the Costa Mesa area, you might want to check in with me to see, because I'm not going to be driving or walking or riding my tricycle around any place for a while. So you might want to check in on me and see if I need any sort of emergency help. I hope not. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.